style of art that is the way that Karmine Corp likes to play. Obviously, something is what they played in that previous game, but I think getting rid of some of the jungle pool for 1-1-3 is important here in response, obviously, to the Wukong, the Gwen being taken away. Yeah.
First picks now, looking to see what they go for. Taliyah still open as that pick that we tend to see be picked up. And there we go. First pick for Mirage. Could go to Rangjun, could go to Memento. We've seen it flex between both jungle and mid so far this season. Now, Karmine Corp, we expect to see them probably just take jungle support combo that they favour.
I'm expecting Viego. I'm expecting Viego here and a roaming support. This is pretty standard setup for Karmine Corp here.
Viego Rakan is like what we would tend to see from them in this position. But if they're going to go for something a little bit different, this tends to a different style. I suppose we're not the greatest roamer, but is fairly good at facilitating ADCs. Potentially, we don't see Reckless on Ezreal duty.
No Reckless Ezreal duty would be interesting because, as you've just mentioned, it's a style that they do default to. They like to put Ezreal. They like to play champions like Ezreal, MF as well. We saw, I believe, Reckless on, whereby he can get put on an island. Pantera is able to facilitate the rest of the map, and then Reckless slowly but surely scales up. Ashe is an interesting answer to that play style because there's a lot of setup in the bot lane that would counter the way they want to play.
Yeah, that is obviously a very... This is also a fairly decent 2v2 just in general. Ashe as an early laner has a lot of poke, a lot of control over the lane. And this is... There's also the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, that global pick that even if we do see Cody Sun have an absolutely torrid time of things down in the bot lane, really can't get off to the races in any capacity, we may well still see this Ashe have prio because you can simply press R. Now, Misfortune coming through is kind of like the counter to the counter, I suppose, right? Where Misfortune pretty much cheats everything and just wins lane as an ADC.
Yeah, it's going to win lane. I am somewhat disappointed. We are still quite early in the tournament that Karmine Corp not really showing us too much beyond what they want to play. They don't really have to. Their hand hasn't been forced too often. But obviously, this MF is going to mean that you'd assume that they're going to be playing towards that style that they normally do, putting Reckless on this island. Renata's going to be a bit harder to roam to. I'm expecting them to maybe play for the mid matchup now, look for counter pick for mid, so that they can enable this, probably blind for Cabo Shard on 4, and because this it's going to be difficult for Renata to impact much more beyond the mid lane, unless you're looking for very specific roam timers. Here, one of the problems for me, for Mirage, is that you'd expect Karmine Corp to take away some of the jungle pool. There is obviously quite a few things left on the table here, with the Viego being locked in, with the Wukong as well, the Jarvan and the Volibear being banned. They're slightly less available, so I would have liked to see Karmine Corp pinch some of that pool away, but they might just not be expect. They might not really know what they're going to opt in for here on Memento.
Yeah, and there's still that world where the Taliyah does flex into the jungle as well. We'll have to see where Memento and where Mirage themselves go.
I've completely forgotten that. That's my bad.
Oh, that's fine, because I still think Rangjun takes this into the mid lane, but they appear to be at least throwing the Yone ban there just in case. Obviously was played last week by Rangjun. But for Karmine Corp, I actually expect this to be mid lane pick right now, allow Seiken to be a roamer and then let them play 2 of the side lanes. I think that Misfortune and Renata can be a very good weak side 2v2. You don't necessarily need resources, but you can still fight 2v2 very well. The Azir comes through. This is a pick for Seiken that we've seen time and time again, having to default away from the likes of Ryze and LeBlanc, who have really fallen out of the meta. Azir is starting to rise in the LFL as that pick in the mid lane that can really catch out teams and do very well through the late stages. Now we have to see what Memento and Mirage opt into. Memento goes for the Kindred, so it is that Taliyah into the mid lane, and the blind Fiora from Bad Lulu.
This is brave. I know that Fiora, one of the stronger top laners on the patch at the moment. Obviously, durability patch has done her a lot of favors in terms of being very, very strong. And that is going to, do Karmine Corp no favors. I expect Cabashard, being the seasoned top laner that he is, he has a response to this in terms of a counter pick. Probably going to default back into that Gnar. It has a bit of range. If you can kind of keep Fiora at bay, keep her at distance, it is going to be a fine matchup, but it is going to be about the jungle and how it can be enabled. Kindred's a champion that can go for some very strange pathing in terms of splitting the map. I am expecting that to be the case there, where I'm expecting Memento to acquiesce to the demands of what Karmine Corp's composition has offered, and then try and split the map and play fully for this top side. That's what this Fiora pick speaks to me. In terms of like notes, I think the Taliyah pick will allow them to also facilitate that top lane side of the map. And Raxo and Cody Sun on the Ashe Seraphine, it's quite a safe laning phase, I think it would be fair to say, Rude Dude.
It is. I took note of some summoner spells. And Raxo has TP. Cody Sun has heal. I'm not sure if those are confirmed, and as we go into the game, we'll have to wait and see, because I wanted to point out there's a new style of Ashe, which is shot to prevalence, and Seraphine is also a pick that we see paired with Senna quite frequently, where the Seraphine can farm and then be its own powerful carry in its own right. Now, I'll wait until we get into the game to talk on those a little bit more, but there's a chance that we're seeing Spectral Sickle Ashe, and that's all I'm gonna tease you with for the time being. We'll see what the summoner spells are when we get on to the Rift. But for me, I really like the Kindred pick in particular for Mirage here. It's one of the best answers to Viego. Obviously, Viego all about setting up for first kills, first resets, where the Kindred is there to prevent it.
We're going to have to see whether it is going to be the Spectral Sickle or whether these predictions will be coming through. We'll be seeing you in a few minutes or so for this game. Don't go anywhere. Straight on to the Rift are we today for Game 2, Mirage versus Karmine Corp. Karmine Corp, the celebrated champions of Europe, coming off the back of their EU Masters run, coming up against the competition in Mirage, a team that has looked up and down in many ways, coming up with a dominant victory against BDS Academy, but faltering by the wayside for a lot of their games against others. Karmine Corp, a team that is characterized by playing a singular style at the moment. They've not had to show us much beyond that. They have fallen by the wayside when it comes to setups. On blue side on red side specifically is where they falter somewhat. Blue side, they find it a lot easier to set up. Get that kind of identity from draft they so crave.
Jake, look at Cody's items.
Oh my god. You were right, Rude Dude. The Prophet.
Okay, I get to talk about it now.
Right,
there was a chance that it wasn't right and it wasn't relevant. We have Arcane Comet and Spectral Sickle Ashe. It's going to be your farming Senna in the bot lane for Raxo with Poke, annoying Ashe in the bot lane. Expectation is that we see a tier and Imperial mandate and just obnoxious amounts of Poke coming from the Ashe in the mid game. Is a complete lane bully when playing ADC. When you've got Ashe with the more Poke oriented style here in particular, that is just compounded upon in the support role. You've also got Raxo, who was going to have a little bit more range, a little bit more setup through the early game up against Pantera, who won't have that answer.
Would I be right in saying that this is actually going to be quite a heavy trade here? Cody Sun's gone straight to forward here. He's going to have to...
Ooh, okay. No sums, wow.
Doesn't have to quite have to burn sums there, but just as you've kind of sung the praises of the Ashe more supportive style, he does walk into Pantera there and take quite a lot of damage, which is going to give a lot of priority over to MF and Renata. Well, not priority necessarily.
I mean, in an ideal world... So in an ideal world here, Ashe is never in range of Renata. That's how it should be played. Should never get hand shook, never have that happen. Unfortunately, Cody steps a little too far forward, does get caught out, and really nice from Pantera actually defaulting from standard Renata builds where you take E level 1 for a bit of hope, and actually really bullying Cody for that overstep.
Would I be right in saying then that this build on Ashe is more about going for the ability haste, having the ultimate up as much as possible?
Yes, it's that sieging under turrets with Poke from your W, and then as you mentioned, the more important factor for comp play, I suppose, is I have my ability haste, I can fire ults and set up for plays a lot easier than you may expect.
I think one of the things that we drew attention to in the pre-game was whether or not Memento was going to come out with some intelligent pathing to try and split them up. That hasn't actually ended up transpiring. It's going to be a pretty standard full clear.
Fairly quiet then, I suppose, for between the two junglers. Actually worth noting that 113 is coming down to this bot side to match Memento. They actually both did the same clear same
what Kindred's done here, I was a bit confused for a second there, which is why I stopped. She's actually taken the red buff straight away, level 1, and then reverse cleared downwards from the top side camps. This is slightly, it's an interesting adaptation in terms of I think you'd more so expect him to be enabling the top side matchup, as Rangjin is going to spot out 113 here. Has Memento to back him up though. Out of danger though.
Yeah, a little bit lacking on the mana front for Rangjin here, so doesn't feel too confident, I suppose, with trying to fight a full-on engagement. But it is going to be Karmine Corp's jungler collecting both crabs, which obviously means that Memento loses out on that first stack opportunity.
Yeah.
Where you know, typically you can see a Kindred get that first crab. You tend to get a stack on what, or you do get a crab on a stack on one of the crabs, and then we talk about sometimes the Kindred lottery. Unfortunately, he didn't even buy a ticket this time around.
I'm not a massive fan of Memento handshaking full clears here. I feel like you did, like I said, need to go for that intelligent parking. Maybe it came from the level 1 setup in terms of... I'm not a massive fan of the idea of starting red. I feel like it's being a bit presumptuous. Then reverse clearing downwards to match it. Your clear speed is not similar to the Viego. It is the case that if you wanted to go for a plan like that, I think you have to go and skip a camp to... And then encourage your bot lane to play a bit further forward to almost bait out that gank. But I feel like the conditions should not be on the... It should be proactive rather than reactive. I think in terms of setting up a split map potentially, or just being a bit more aggressive in your pathing on the Kindred early. I don't think handshaking and acquiescing to the demands of this Viego is very good here. You see Memento clearing out the pink ward here. He's going to get aggressed on here. Aggressive W comes out. A lot of damage. Q. You're not able to move here because of the wave. A lot of return fire here. Azir has caught up Rangjun here. Ignite has been used by him. Off to the side there. Flash forward here. Memento's going to have to flash as well.
Heavy scrapping in the top side jungle. Summoner spells burned by both junglers. Their flash is down, and Rangjun bends the ignite onto Seiken, who looked like he was able to just dash over the wall and get to safety. Now this big 3v3 stun
He's
doesn't
been used by
actually land onto
Fiora.
anyone.
Some key cooldowns here by Mirage means that this fight should not be taken by them. It'll be the case that Diego walks away, slows down Memento a little bit, but this is exactly what this matchup needs. You slow down the Kindred, you get her away from these marks, you mess with her clear. Diego's able to trade some tempo here that he gained from that first clear in disrupting Memento.
Yeah, and what Mirage's composition, I suppose, now is more clearly trying to do is play a little bit safer through the early game. They obviously have this Seraphine Ashe bot lane that kind of got ruined at level 1. They could never play with the full extent of their range after that handshake landed. But they've got 3 tiers on their team. As soon as those start to stack up, when those completed items start to come through, the Mirror Mana in particular is going to be so huge for Codyson. That's when the composition is going to start to do a lot better. It's when their champions will start to dish out a large share of damage. But for right now, they're going to be quite content sitting back, farming up and waiting for their champions to fully scale into the game.
Yeah, completely with you in that regard, Rude Dude. As I feel like Mirage as a team need to get that early dominance out. You saw it in their only victory of the split. It was the case that Memento was able to read the map and kind of translate that prescience that he's tried to display so far in this game but not quite been able to do so. That was then generated into a lead, and it really kind of snowballed into a stomp, but so far in the opening 6 minutes of this game, it has been 1-1-3 that's been slightly ahead in terms of ideas going forward. Memento kind of playing catch-up to him, and it is going to mean that the Karmine Corp do pick up the first dragon as well.
And this is what Karmine Corp do very well. It's use their early game to control how the game gets played out with 1-1-3, setting up with what we've already seen. 2 crab takes on the initial spawn, moving into the topside jungle and forcing fights. Now securing the bot lane dragon. They like to have some decent lanes so that they can make these moves and push through and set up for some very good mid-game spikes, mid-game team fights where they tend to be ahead going into them. Do get to see quite how they're sort of generating these leads, at least through the bot lane, with Reckless putting down constant poke. Really good timing on his double ups. He's found 2 consecutive now. And you can see they're just happy to walk forward and try and take these trades at will. The power of a misfortune in the early game, certainly something to write home about. And you can see Karmine Corp really trying to make advantage of it.
We spoke about how this lane would be annoying for Karmine Corp in terms of the poke being offered. Is it the case that they're just not playing it entirely optimal to your standards, Rude Dude? Or is it the fact that it doesn't stack up that well against Misfortune, for example? There's a flash forward from Antera, click flash from Codyson in return there. Yeah,
good fast fingers there, I suppose, from Cody. But like I say, this is one of those lanes that I think is certainly very powerful. But they got ruined at level 1. I really think they lost all of their control when Cody got chunked to within, 5 to 10% of his HP. And they can never really play with that impunity that you look to. Misfortune, obviously, as a champion, very good at just mitigating any sort of aggressive lanes, so they did have that going for them. So it's a little bit of an awkward one where they yes, opted into this Ashe Seraphine as a cheese bot lane, essentially, where Cody's playing support, which is a little bit unlike what we're seeing from most teams. But overall, I think that there's a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It should have been better, but also it's not going to be as good as I potentially made it out to be because of this misfortune.
Yeah, it's going to be a lead generated by MF so far. Not much going on, though, in terms of actual active game states. Obviously, the Dragon being taken out by Karmine Corp. Next one going to be spawning in around 3 minutes or so. That Rift Herald obviously gets taken as well by 113. Something important to note and bring attention to further is the fact that 113 is just accelerating on the map now. He's not exactly generating leads through lanes, but he's just speeding up slightly beyond what Memento's been able to offer so far. 2 camps up, gets the Dragon, gets the Rift Herald as well. And it means that Memento not really able to move towards that acceleration point. It's going to mean that Mirage slowed down, and when it comes to some of these objective fights, they're also going to be slowed down.
And as well as all this, right, it is 113 securing those objectives. So he's got the first Herald, he's also got the first Dragon, and is ahead in farm. He's certainly ahead of the curve of this Mirage jungler who, for all intents and purposes, had, you know, picked this Kindred to either counter to the Viego. Potentially that comes in a little bit later on. But for right now, 113 is certainly having a good game, picking up those, not just those objectives, but the CS as well.
You can see 113, he's trying to abuse the wave state, but not able to quite fish for it just yet. He's sticking around though. Wait to see if Raxo step up even a second too long. Could be dangerous for them. 113 there. He's there at the there with his fishing pole for quite a while, not able to catch any fishies. Go back to base.
So let's, whilst we've got a bit of time here, Jake, let's harken back to that fabled game that we saw Karmine Corp win last week, that they potentially didn't have that much control or that much... They shouldn't have won, essentially, is what we came to.
Yeah.
The way they won it was through one big misfortunal and really good team fighting. They were down against an Elder, they were down a Baron, and they were in no particular way supposed to take that victory. But what happened was that they found that one misfortune teamfight ulti, set themselves up, and they were able to find the win off the back of that. What they've drafted for once again here in this composition is another very good late game team fighting composition that in tandem is allowed 113 to set up to move through this early game with a fair amount of priority from his solo lanes. Herald is getting used in the mid lane, so a little bit of gold given over to Seiken to 113. But overall, even if this goes poorly for Karmine Corp in the early stages, they've still got that late game team fighting that comes just as a byproduct of having Misfortune, Nart, and Azir all on the same team.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point and something that we're going to have to look towards for that later stage of the game. Haven't quite managed to get to that point yet. Even further, that kind of backs up the point that you felt like certain lanes from Mirage needed to be enabled. I would have liked to have seen this Fiora be catered to a bit more thus far. We do see the gank in from Memento here, but with a lot of safety. Fleet footwork with the flash, with the jump as well from Cabochard. He's now at the point now. Difficult for Bad Lulu to find any lead in this lane. It's a very even lane. You need that Fiora to kind of get ahead to be able to have a side lane presence. With this Fiora, it's not going to be the case that he opts into his team. Quite aggressive from Cabochard here, gets it. Propose not able to be found in response here. Ultimate does come out. He can't quite get all the vitals. One more does remain. Cabochard says, try me if you can.
Ah, Fiora's greatest counter. Terrain. Oh no. It's well played by Cabochard, right? If any of you guys are playing up against a Fiora, just simply mirror what you got to see.
Ooh, speaking of terrain, it's a Tilia ult that rains on Cabochard's head. He goes onto the turret now. If I go down, he's going to get out though, isn't he? Rangjun doesn't have the angle on the Q. And terrible day for terrain. As Cabochard gets out quite easily there. Looked a bit scary for a second, but in the end, able to escape.
Flash expended, so, you know, Summoner Spell burned, but ultimately he gets both Summoner Spells from the Mirage solo laners. Rangjun and Bad Lulu both tried their hardest to try and get that kill, but the Nord does get away to safety, so Cabo pressure sponging in the top side, while his team takes a Dragon down in the bot side. So overall, that is probably the best net play that KC could have hoped for, and Mirage really coming away with nothing from that.
And this is really bad for Mirage. It was a point that I was touching on before we got interrupted there. That with the way they want to play the game now, with this Fiora is not going to have the same utility than Nara is in this team fights. It needs to be enabled to set up in these side lanes. it's kind of one of the ways that they can play. In contrast to what the jungler's name is on Karmine Corp, they do actually need to play at the 1-1-3 style. They need to play more on the side lane. And that's not going to be the case if Fiora does not get off at the races. And it's kind of been up against a stonewall in Kabashard's Gnar thus far.
He's done very well. We were looking to see what he would have as an answer to the Fiora. The Gnar, again, has done just a very good job. It's not been, you know, the be-all and end-all, right? He's not 4-0 Gnar completely stomping, but he had counterpick. He stopped the Fiora from potentially being this win condition for the time being. The question is, what else comes from this top side? We've got two people up here, both top and jungles, ready to try and scrap, with the mid laners roaming as well. I think everybody except for the bot laners are looking at some skirmishes up from this top side.
Memento is going to get suffer here. He's going to get ulted in a second or so. 1-1-3 finds the stun. Memento does get the ultimate in response just about. This Ashe ultimate has stunned up here. Here comes Kabashard's ult. 1-1-3 so low here. In the first to the play here, Bad Lulu is about to go down. Seraphine ult comes out, but it doesn't hit anyone, and quite a tragic miss. First blood, 2v2, we saw it coming. It was pre-coordinated, predestined. Memento, you thought he would have get ulted almost certainly there by Kabashard, but he's not able to find it. Gets the ultimate out just about. Ashe ult did interrupt 1-1-3 as well. Good fight for Mirage.
Yeah, and we knew that fight was coming in. It was long telegraphed. Everybody was ready and waiting to go, but it's Mirage who come out on top. We get another replay of it here this time out. Cabo sniffs something's wrong. You can see this pink here just to make sure there's no jungler there, and then just randomly face checks Memento. Able to take it down, and good flash from Memento buys the space. That means he doesn't get instantly chain CC'd by Kabashard. I think Cabo greeding a little bit there for the double Gnar into the wall, as opposed to just taking the one quick kill onto Memento. Unfortunately enough, that is enough to, you know, keep.
This could have been even worse as well.
Yeah, exactly right. You can see that really. Raxo's looking for the double up there. He wants to find both Seiken and Kabashard, but it's a bit of Malphite syndrome, I think, when you see like the big ulti potential, but instead you could have just gone for one person.
I like that. That's cheeky. The Weaver's Wall into Enchanted Crystal Arrow. The combination we might be seeing more of this game. I think in terms of setup, they do have a lot of ability to make these picks at quite a short distance, which gives them, I think, it gives them the ability to avoid. I like Mirage's composition in the sense of, if Karmine Corp do opt in for some of these team fights, they have the ability to stave it off. But the problem is that obviously that side lane that we mentioned does need to be enabled. It wasn't the Fiora that picked up the kill there, it was Memento, which means Memento is going to be able to accelerate slightly now, has the boost, tier 2 boost now, and the Mythic. Whether or not he can do much with that ultimate being down, it's going to be up and around 40 seconds, 40 to 50 seconds or so. And now looking forward, with the Dragon in a minute, Rude Dude, what are you expecting to see unfold?
I'm hoping that we get to see Karmine Corp just continue their Drake stacking. I think that an early game Mountain Soul is going to set them up, honestly, to just win the game. The damage that's coming from Mirage is going to be relying largely on Memento and Bad Lulu, and getting that Mountain Soul out early, and Rangshin as well, I have to say. That Talia actually does a substantial amount of damage. Ooh, okay. Crystal goes wide. But I think that if Karmine Corp can set up for this early game Soul, not really give anything to Mirage, they'll be in a good spot. They did a very good job at choking them out of early game objectives, and something that we've seen a lot from teams is them go for a couple early dragons, and then that's not really, and then that'll be it for the time being. I want to see KC just go all in on this Drake Soul. There's nothing to gain on that top side. You can see they've done a very good job at clearing out top camps, so they're not going to be lost. But this may well come at a cost, potentially giving Cabo a little bit less priority. He needs to be a little careful, cognizant of that, and make sure that he doesn't get dove. But outside of that, this should just be, for me, a Drake for Karmine Corp.
I like that they're not rushing it here. They are giving a little bit of space to Cabo to reset. Realizing that it is their dragon, Memento and Cody-san have rotated up to this top side now. Now's the time that Kabashard actually needs to be careful. I think he feels like he's alleviated some of the dangers. Here comes Memento over the wall. Now been alerted as to the play. Cody-san's in the bush here. Weaver's Wall comes out. 1-1-3 is going to have to ult over the wall. He does so. Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out as well. Here comes the flash forward from Rangshin. He needs to find a W. He doesn't quite do it, but 1-1-3 goes down very low regardless. He's been able to go in there for the Streamer Shuffle. He knows that it's going to be countered by 100 Ultimate. No dragon has been taken yet.
Here, the Drake, it got started by the Karmine Corp bot lane, but they didn't actually finish it out. They go for the mid-tier 1 instead, and Cabo, you still don't have control up here. Being under this turret is not a good spot.
He doesn't have Mega, and there's 4 people here. He does manage to get over the wall here. It's massive from Cabo. Taken hasn't found a Streamer Shuffle, though. And it looked like they'd be able to turn this with Seiken coming in here. He doesn't find the ultimate that he was looking for. It's going to be disappointing on goal. Yeah.
Trading places there, Karmine Corp. The solo lane as Cabo gets out as Seiken hops right back in, and then Mirage go, oh, well, I mean, I guess we'll take the Azir instead. That seems better, if anything. Able to get that little kill onto Seiken. He's now stalled, a little bit stagnated in his farming progress, and no Drake taken on the other side. They do lose mid-tier 1. The likelihood is, with Seiken being dead and no TP, that Mirage actually set up for their Drake take of their own.
Yeah, they're going to have this priority in the mid lane now, and while we were talking about how important you thought it was for Karmine Corp to be able to stack these Drakes now, it doesn't look to be the case. Seiken is running out of base rather quickly, but with Hantera channeling that base, they might be giving it away here. Bad Lulu is in a position whereby he's in base now, might look for a teleport. Be the case.
Just an easy secure. A real fumble there by Karmine Corp. They could have just sacked their top tier 1 turret at a worst case, got that Drake bin on soul point, they'd be forcing fights, and they'd be fine. But they've opted into something a little bit different, and they do end up coming out negative on the play, that is for sure. We need to see them utilize this teamfight composition at a certain point as well. They have got Misfortune, who is slowly getting to a point of prevalence. Reckless here. I mean, we talked about CS per minute numbers. Reckless tends to always top those, and in this game, it is no different. 2:30 before the 20-minute marker. Gonna be a threat. He's gonna be somebody that you need to look out for in these team fights. That Mirror Man is almost finished. It's gonna come at about the time of the Cyrilda's Grudge. When you get all three of those in conjunction with one another, the Misfortune's peak just hits different.
Certainly going to be hitting different, rattling away with that ultimate. It'll be massive for them. Look at how Karmine Corp so dangerous in these team fight scenarios. They're very much getting to that point. Slowly but surely. But Mirage have a lot of answers. They've been able to kind of staple or stafer off some of the demanding aggression that Karmine Corp have put out so far. An important beneficiary of what's unfolded so far is Rangjin on this Talia. 2 items now, Seraph's Embrace completed. He's very accelerated, able to put out a lot of damage, a lot of poke.
A little bit of sustain that comes from the Seraphs as well. Gonna just stave off any of those cheeky or pesky make it rains potentially that come from Reckless as that little bit of poke, and the Comet as well, certainly. Gonna just get a little bit alleviated. Means that you can just control waves and tank them up as well, prevent these turrets from taking any damage.
He was wall. He's found 113 here. 113 ults right into the nose of the wall there. Terrain continues to be a problem for Karmine Corp.
Yeah, I mean, it was their friend for Cabo. It's proven to be their enemy this time round.
And then, so he's been hostile taken over there. Gets taken back to the grey screen. Great ult from Hantera to find momentum before he can pop the ultimate there.
Just layering the CC. Beautiful. And Reckless as well. If he's given alone time, if that bullet time is able to rain down, you saw how quickly Memento died. He died in the space of a handshake plus hostile takeover. At level 9, you know, Hantera here with just rank 1 ulti, it's still enough. It's still able to get Reckless's time in there and get him that kill. So the first kill for Karmine Corp goes to the ADC that we expect to carry them through late game team fights. And overall, we're just continuing to see this fairly slow-paced game where, in fact, Karmine Corp are looking to ramp it up.
Karmine Corp looking to stop the fact that they're playing slow thus far. Chana Crystal Arrow comes in, does land onto Hantera. He's going to be stunned up for a second or so more. A lot of damage coming out from Rangjin in response. 113 Cabochard are your only members in the pit now. As the jungler comes in, jungler is too far away now. It's going to come down to a smite. Can Memento get there in time? No, he can't. It is going to be 113 and Cabochard flashing over the wall now. And Karmine Corp get away with absolute murder.
Now, in game number 1, sneaking away the Baron, ended up losing the game. But this is Karmine Corp with a Baron. This is 3 turrets still have been taken down. 3 turrets outside the base exist for Mirage. And now Karmine Corp with this slightly accelerated time frame with this Baron buff may well be able to just start tearing through structures. They've got the Baron to do so. They've got a really good poke composition with the Azir under turrets, with the Misfortune making it rain. They've got some good zoning tools to make things fairly scary. As long as Cabo can, and even if they want to group up, use Cabochard as that 5-man stack, they can threaten under turrets quite significantly as well. Doesn't quite have that second item yet, so isn't the epitome of a front line that Karmine Corp may be looking towards. But with this Baron, there's a very real possibility that KC are able to blow this game wide open.
Yeah, completely. 50 seconds now, battling away. Move towards this 4th dragon of the game. Karmine Corp slipped up around the last dragon, made a faulty decision. It's all about the setups now, whether or not Mirage can punish them if they see something go awry. But if Karmine Corp continues to dominate the dragon game, it is going to be a difficult position for Mirage to come back from, especially with that Mountain Soul. Takes away so much ability for Bad Lulu to enable himself in this side lane.
And the Fiora, just as a pick in general, we knew it was a statement being declared. When you take a Fiora blind, you expect some fairly big things. We're expecting Bad Lulu to have that control of a side lane. Unfortunately, that has not proven to be the case. They do get top tier 1. It comes at a cost of their bot lane tier 2. And they're going up against a Baron here, so Karmine Corp just indefinitely have the control. This also comes at the cost of the Dragon, as well as that has spawned. KC with complete control over that bot lane are going to just take this straight. No contest at all to be had. And granted, it's not the completely explosive Baron buff that we were expecting, but they've gotten Goldleys. They've set themselves up for a soul take in a couple minutes' time. And we're still really on as even, it feels like. Nothing too much has changed given that Baron. There was one turret traded, but outside of that, it still feels like Mirage are fairly well within the chance.
Yeah, Mirage not exactly out of it yet. Obviously, the Baron was acquired by Karmine Corp. They've got the 3 dragons now. They are staring down a 4-minute win condition for Karmine Corp. But Mirage definitely putting up a more competitive game than we've seen previously from them, showing some very clear signs of life here, able to find good hits. A lot of those have come at the expense of 113 dying. Whether or not they can do it again is another question. But look towards the CC combination. It's going to be your Enchanted Crystal Arrow into your Weaver's Wall a lot of the time, one precipitating the other.
I think they need to see a little bit more from Mirage through this mid-game in toward the late game. We talked about their signs of life. Those were definitely very prevalent in the early stages. But for now, they've really petered off. They've not particularly had too much to write home about, and particularly with the Baron being snuck away from under their noses. It's really taken all of the wind out of their sails. They've really just stagnated in what they've been looking to accomplish and how they've been playing out. Still, you know, granted, making some slightly proactive plays, getting that top lane tier 1 turret in exchange for a bot lane tier 2. It was a play made with that cognizance in mind. They knew they were doing it. They were willing of the sacrifice. But they've not been going for plays that are winning for them. When they can, you know, try and look for positive, proactive plays, have just not been as good as we may like to see.
Yeah, completely agree. I think with so much of the gold share being on Rangjun now, being 3-0 now, only member with a shutdown, 3 items now. On for slightly less damage-orientated items with the Seraphs, with the Zhonyas as well. Obviously opting in for a bit more safety for himself in regards to a potential Shurima shuffle if he doesn't have the summoner available. He really needs to start pulling his weight. He has done so far, but he has to continue to do so for Mirage to have a chance in this game.
And I don't think that fits with the theme of this Mirage composition, right? Like they have got really good pick set up with the Ashe and then with that Talia to follow up. Rangjun is on a ward. I imagine that he knows. There we go. Figures it out. And now they have to call off the play. That there was nobody there anyway, but either way. I think that with the pick comp that they've set up, maybe just a more dire AP style would have suited what Mirage were looking for. It's this more teamfight-esque, more teamfight oriented. We're setting a little bit better up with the Kindred, for example. Memento in a teamfight, probably the only one who doesn't fit that unique pick style of comp for their team. And Raxo as well, hopefully able to set up for some great teamfights with that Seraphine ulti. We haven't seen any of that just yet, but we touched on the fact that Karmine Corp do have great teamfight tools.
It's going to be an Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Cody's son. Have to flash away. Hostile takeover doesn't quite take out anyone just yet. Here goes Seiken. Weaver's Wall in response. Seraphine Ox come out. Reckless over the wall has taken out Cody's son though. Seiken is in stasis and gets out. Big picks and big cooldowns. There's nothing on the board quite yet. 4 teams to take, but team fight victory for Karmine Corp. Cody's son who started the play.
Rangjun not able to find the pick here, and 1-1-3 may go forth for it. Flash burned. Karmine Corp now with complete control around this Baron. Codysun's not there to be that pesky fly on the wall, constantly chipping away at their health pools. They're going to send probably Cabo down to that bot side. They actually don't have TPs to answer, so it's not too easy for them. But they can set up for this Baron very easily. It's already being taken, and if Bad Lulu doesn't TP, it's going to go quickly.
See Bad Lulu's TPing in here, but it might be too little too late. Baron does go down now. It's going to be, yeah, gone completely for KC. And Enchanted Crystal out onto 113 means they are able to get one here. Hantera is the second one to fall. Give it over to Rangjun. 4 kills now. 2 kills in response for Mirage, but another Baron is taken too easily for Karmine Corp.
Yeah, once again, just not quite the answer there. Now they've got 30 seconds to play with where they have to generate some sort of advantage. It looks like it's going to be denying the Mountain Soul for them, but importantly, this is 2 members down that don't have teleports to get to that Drake fight in time. If they want that Dragon, it should be theirs. I don't know that they can get too much else. The forcing, the Baron pressure is just a little too much.
Yeah, it's a decent trade-off, the fact they're able to get these 2 kills onto these important members who, like you say, won't be able to get to this Dragon. Is going to mean that they, again, save themselves around 5 minutes or so. But my point is, Rude Dude, in terms of saving themselves with the 5 minutes, what can they get from those 5 minutes? Who do we need to look forward? What are the spikes they need to reach in those 5 minutes that really secures or at least makes the game a bit safer?
It's rare that we point this out, but support breakpoints, Codysun this game needs to hit that mirror mana at some point. It's a brutal slog. Has completed that Imperial mandate, but really isn't doing too much else otherwise. This Ashe is good for ulting, good for vision with the Hawk Shot, but if that mirror mana comes through, that is a really big damage spike that Mirage can look to use. That third item, the Death Stance, it looks like for Bad Lulu can get completed. Then there's a world where his side lane priority really does start to skyrocket. You can see that Cabo is now opting into those defensive items. Already went for a Death Stance as that second item, so is not going down too easily in this side lane. And Rangjun is so far away from a Rabadon's that I don't think that's coming through even in time for the next spawn of a Dragon.
Completely. It's going to be dangerous for them. 4 minutes now. It's another question to be asked is how much can the Karmine Corp do with the rest of this Baron? Not much remaining on it. They do manage to take out another turret in the mid lane. Really trying to open up the base now of Mirage.
In 4 or 5 minutes time, that decision making is going to get called again.
Rangjun goes so low here. Ultimate did come out in response. Onto Reckless, but they can't quite manage to find him.
No mana though, and I think that could be the end of at least Reckless's pushing prowess. You see Seiken tries to get this little mid lane turret, and I think that it falls in the end there. The cannon minion doing the work. Weaver's Wall is going to scout out and find nothing. It's bot tier 2 being taken, and importantly, I suppose, no inhibitors fall for Mirage. That will be about the end of the Baron push. That is all that KC can take, and they still don't have an inhibitor. They don't have that 5-minute pressure source going through either lane. Potentially 113 caught out again here. Has flash, has ulti, probably just gets out of the way with one of them. Good enough window on that. You're not going to be fighting for anything for the next 3-4 minutes or so until that Baron and Dragon spawn. But when they come up, Jake, that's when we get to see the decision-making of the teams. There's a small window where Baron is up and Dragon isn't. And that's honestly the best way around for these teams. It means that you have to focus that Baron. You can't really sneak that away like you can a Dragon. And important to remember as well that it's sole point for Karmine Corp. They are under no obligation to go to the Dragon and take it away from Mirage, since Mirage aren't on sole point, where the opposite, the vice, does exist. I
think another important thing to note in terms of building towards, drawing attention to 2 minutes 30, that one of the consequences of that last Baron push is that unfortunately Memento's getting quite starved out for resources. He's quite desperately needs that third item spike with the IE. You can see he's building towards it now, probably around about 1,000 gold away from it. Has to pick up the trick cloak plus the difference. Whether or not he's able to get to that with not a lot of his camps respawning, a lot of those camps being taken away, is a question. He does obviously have the rank 3 ultimate now with level 16, but he really needs to get to that spike to put out a lot of this damage.
Yeah, he's got one clear now effectively, and he's also got to do all of the jungle duties to make sure that there's vision down, that everything else is happening on the map. He's got Rangjun taking away his Gromp on the top side, which again is no discredit to Rangjun. He wants to hit that Rabadon's death cap spike. But if you can't get there, and if Kindred doesn't get there, it just makes this next team fight so much more difficult. Second NL rod comes through for Rangjun, and again, probably about 1,000 gold away. We're seeing these crucial item breakpoints be just out of reach for Mirage, and maybe not really in the, and maybe not quite going to come through in time. Whereas we look across at the KC squad, they've got 4-item Reckless, 4-item Seiken. The Force of Nature has been completed for a long time now, and as we look to see what Cabo's going to go back to base and pick up, what Pantera is able to go back and collect as well, those item spikes just continue to build up. Okay, it's only a core fields for Cabo, but you can already see that that team fighting now is very much able to stay in the front line.
Yeah. And I think Kindra's not going to be able to get that IE, not going to be able to get that reset quite. Didn't even manage to pop the Edge of Night there on Reckless, unfortunately. Now we are gearing up. We are gearing up 40 seconds or so. This will be potential solve for Karmine Corp if they can get the surrounding setup here. They have had difficulties on red side setting up for objectives before. The game is very much in their control thus far. Reckless is big. For me, the question is how much can Bad Lulu do in the side lane? He is going to have to commit towards a team fight at some point, but how much attention can he divert towards himself? How much can Memento and Co do to stop or delay a team fight to buy him some space? Because in a straight 5-on-5, it will be Karmine Corp's game.
Now, the likelihood is here that Karmine Corp seed prio around this Baron, the Dragon.
Need a lot of damage onto 113. He's stunned here. Seraphine has come out as well, though. 113 is going to get caught. Bad Lulu's going big onto Reckless. Decides to peel off, though, but it's a big, big pick for Mirage.
And they could just go to the Dragon here. Going against the Baron is still going to be very scary. Seiken, Cabo, and Reckless all still alive, but there's no smite available. If Karmine Corp can't take this within the 2-3 seconds that they've got, they're going to really struggle with no smite. You can see Seiken tries to start it up, but with Memento here, this is likely just going to be the Dragon secured. There is no smite for about 10 seconds, and they may be playing a game of chicken with Mirage, but they don't have that knowledge, and Memento able to secure the Dragon. They get a window.
Oh, goes wide. Weaver's Wall does come out, though. Cabo Shot has flash here. Trying to get his Mega. Slowed out slightly. Taken on the side there. Is doing a lot of damage to Memento. And has been found onto Cabo Shot, but it's difficult to chase. And the speed is there. One of the most dangerous things that we've seen from Mirage is Karmine Corp doesn't want to give them the choice. They've given them the choice now. They've given them that third Dragon. We're gearing up now for that soul for both side Dragon fight. Karmine Corp keep blundering when it's their decision. It's on them. The onus is on them to put the nails in the coffin. And Mirage keep managing to pull the nails out of the coffin and finding resurrection, finding a new breath of life, a new lease on life in this game. The game still continues on at 36 minutes.
Yeah, Karmine Corp unfortunately didn't bring the hammer to hammer them home. Memento did get that big reset, has completed that Infinity Edge. Rangjun as well now looking to do the same thing. If he can go back to base and pick up that death cap, those crucial item spikes that we talked about that weren't going to be ready in time for the Drake fight have been excused. They're now allowed in to get them.
Just remember, this could be the third Baron of the game that goes down so brutally quickly. Bad Lulu doesn't have that teleport to respond. There is not the Weaver's Wall quite available. Rangjun will have in a few seconds. Seiken gets stunned here, and it means he's not able to quite put the DPS out, but Memento is in the pit now with that ultimate prime. 113 is low, and they find him after it. Who will get the smite? It is going to be Renato who gets the Baron in the end there. Karmine Corp have done it once again. Seiken goes in here. You find Bad Lulu. He's doing a lot of damage. He flashes out, and he gets stunned up by Bad Lulu. Odie's son needs to find the damage here. They're going to find the kill, but it was Renato who got it there. The smite, I believe, took it down to around 180. And it's another Baron for Karmine Corp. They keep getting them.
Oh, Jake, this game just keeps delivering. Third Baron now goes to Karmine Corp. Memento, I think, has smite for this entire time and just doesn't get it off. KC, they started off at a really good Ash ulti, actually. Zones and stops Seiken from dishing out the DPS. Gives Memento the time to get in, and a charm as well. Beautifully timed to stop Memento getting chain CC down. He gets into the pit. 113. I believe here smites early. Memento doesn't have smite. Oh, it's smite from Memento, and they're not secured by 113. He's in stasis. Fortunately, his teammate's able to pick it up. Seiken goes in a little too deep, a little too far forward. The rest of the squad not able to help out. Reckless not having that bullet time doesn't want to try and teamfight that way with 3 people shadowing off to that top side. But this game, still Karmine Corp have the Baron. This third one, surely they can get at the very least an inhibitor from it. These team fights have not been anywhere near what we expected. Very close, very well congested by Mirage, actually. Expecting them to have a really torrid time of things in these team fights with a Fiora, with a, not DPS style Ashe, but they're still somehow managing to make it work.
Yeah, you've got to say, all credit to Mirage, a team that was, heavily seen as the underdogs going into this match. They've kind of given it. They've gone down, kicking, but it's really, they're going to be feeling like it's a massive kick in the teeth for Karmine Corp to be able to get that third Baron off the game now. It's going to give them a lot of lucidity in terms of being able to go towards that final dragon of the game and potentially open up some of these inhibitors as well, which would be a real problem for Mirage to be able to answer.
Yeah, now this mid inhibitor is merely a formality. No turret there, and Mirage don't have the answer. They didn't even have the numbers there to go for it. Drake spawning in about 90 seconds. This is a soul for either team. Our second 7-dragon game of the day. We're only 2 games in as well. Somebody's getting a mountain soul here, Jake. Somebody in the next 90 seconds is going to be walking away with that prized shield and making the other team's engagements that much harder to come by. Mirage, for the time being, are looking to set up around this top side. They're moving up here, and doesn't look like they feel that the Drake Soul is going to be that leading win condition. As long as they can have control around this top side, they're going to look to facilitate Bad Lulu, make sure that he can get a little bit more gold back as well, and try and break open the base from that means.
Look at Mirage here. They're moving completely towards the top side here.
But they're just going to lose the game. Look at Karmine Corp.
This could be really
charging
bad.
Down mid lane.
Karmine Corp are charging down. They're having to channel the bases now, but with this Baron wave, they're going to look onto the turrets maybe.
Baron
30
down
seconds or so for Dragon. Back off here. Weaver's Wall is available from Rangjin in a few seconds here. Will they look for it? Will they prime the trigger here? Ashe hasn't based here.
Still 3v4 on this side of the map as well. That Ashe arrow came from the red buff jungle. It meant that Karmine Corp were still with a numbers advantage. Drake is still spawning in about 12 seconds time. Now Bad Lulu has TP, so does Cabochard, but Memento, the rest of Mirage, they have to charge into this jungle in complete darkness.
It's too late.
And if they're just giving up the soul, it's gone.
This is a wonderful thing to see for Karmine Corp. AC and the Sunshine Band force Mirage to na. Give it up. See Bad Lulu and Cabochard have a word with each other, but it's not going to mean anything. It's just a tier 3 top lane turret. The Karmine Corp with no questions asked. Take away another dragon for themselves. Mirage never had the answer to it. Tried to enable the top side, but now Karmine Corp primed with that soul, ready to end this game.
Certainly an interesting set of events. No inhibitor taken by Mirage. They settle for the top lane tier 3, but they give up this mountain soul. It means that these team fights that we expect to see happen are going to be so much harder to come by now for the Mirage squad. They have to deal with this extra shield that they have to take away before they can even start to cut through the health bars of Karmine Corp. Every single time they've been looking for picks, they've been looking for setups, it's come from the Ashe arrow, which is probably not even going to take away the mountain shield itself. And then you've got Rangjin, who needs to dish out a lot of damage. Memento, the same thing. We've hit these big item spikes now. We're at the point where items are becoming sort of irrelevant because we're almost at 6 on every single person of relevance. This arrow, I mean, at this point, it's also worth noting that Cody's arrow is on a very short cooldown. It doesn't necessarily matter that we're throwing them out like it's nobody's business. He's hit peak items.
Yeah. Push. Yeah. You have to use his riposte there, preemptively. He's now going to have to set himself off on the bot side against the Baron buff Karmine Corp. Right, sorry, not a Baron buff Karmine Corp, a Mountain Soul Karmine Corp. He has to find ways to open this game up because in the 5v5, we've mentioned it before in this game, not going to be the way forward for them. Important to draw attention to is that top lane inhibitor that he was able to lay bare somewhat, but going to need to find an opening. It's going to need to be the case that Mirage finds time in these team fights with that Lamb's Respite, with some of the ultimates they have to stop the onslaught that is Karmine Corp with this Mountain Soul.
I really like
this
this
definitely a side lane game.
Look at who they're sending to answer Bad Lulu. I think that sending Saken is actually really clever. He can clear the waves at range and just never get engaged on.
Mento has to flash.
A bit Blabber-esque there. Flash for a buff. Flash secures the red buff, but secures his safety more so than anything else. Has got that completed Guardian Angel now. So the big item spikes that we were looking to last time round have been recompleted once again. This time it's before that crucial objective is fought over. Baron now up. They go for Saken.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow is primed onto Saken. Cooldown very short, as we've mentioned before, so game being played slow as it is now, as we see Bad Lulu in the side lane. Still going for that bottom wave. Weaver's Wall, his angle is trying to be gained here by Rangjun. Karmine Corp go back to base.
Yeah, and they've got to answer Bad Lulu down on the spot side. Don't want to be dilly-dallying around on this top side of the map too much. Bad Lulu's mana threshold is going a little bit down, so may run out of mana in a fight, but you can see they stopped the bases. Weaver's Wall actually cancelled, and now Bad Lulu has got free time on the bot lane while Memento and the rest of Mirage are hitting away.
Reckless is there to answer with Seiken. Like you've said, it's going to be 113 has to come up huge here for the potential steal Bad Lulu is getting engaged on. Here comes the 3-man. The Baron play is precedent in the background. 113 is in. 113 steals it. 113 goes in, gets out, and he's going to get over the wall as well. And it's a disaster for Mirage. And you think with 3 members sent to the bot side, they'd have that Baron secured, but 113, flash in, ult out, Baron secured for your 4th of the game, and Karmine Corp keep on styling through the game.
Oh, and that is just disastrous. They keep Pantera there to distract for long enough. But Mirage, they leave it up to a 50-50. Despite the fact that there are 3 people there, it's still just up to a smite fight. And 113 limps away. He is on single-digit, maybe double-digit health. But he does enough. He gets the Baron. And now Karmine Corp, with this 30 seconds where Bad Lulu's down, they can take probably the bot lane inhibitor, the mid inhibitor too. The team fight's never going to go well. You can see Reckless just uses bullet time here merely as a zoning tool. Raxo walks in and takes about 70% of his HP from just the last 3 waves. And now Karmine Corp with everything up, they're just going to deathball team fight 5v5 their way through the base. Take this bot lane, take the mid lane, and then if they want to, they can reset for the top side, or they can just brute force their way through the Nexus turrets. Cody-san.
Too far. Rangjun's going to get almost taken down as well. There's so much poke available now from Seiken, from Reckless as well, that a step too forward is going to mean a step straight into the abyss.
And what do they do here? It looks like it is just wait for the wave and use the Baron to do the rest of the work. I like this. And the minion's still hitting, and for the most part, Karmine Corp, the push has been stopped. The end does not come through this time out. But they've done much better. Those nails have started to go into the coffin here. We're not quite putting the final ones down, but it's the dotting of the I's, the crossing of the T's. Make sure that they can go back. They've set up nicely with complete bot side control. With both those inhibitors down, they should be able to move in, set up vision at will. Because in case we'd forgotten as well, we finally got a Mountain Soul of the teams. There's an Elder spawning in about 30 seconds. With Karmine Corp, like I say, having that complete control of the bot side, they don't have too much vision down in this bot jungle yet, but with 2 inhibitors, they should be able to walk in and force it. Once they get vision set up, this Baron and this Dragon tandem should just be enough to close out the game.
It doesn't seem like Mirage are too much of a fight out so far. Crystal Arrow comes out from Ashe. Not able to do much beyond stop the potential engage. One of the primary engage calls, or primary pick calls rather, that's going to be taken away. Difficult now for Mirage to find a way in. Karmine Corp setting up so well to choke them out of here. You see Seiken goes for the double wall jump there. An Olympian in his previous life.
Gets started up. The Elder, of course, the all-powerful end game buff resets, and Mirage, they are here. Karmine Corp can play time. Look at the waves. Mid lane going to be pushing with 2 supers, bot lane pushing with 1. If Mirage don't get this in and get out quickly, that game is going to end.
The case he might teleport out at a moment's notice. Weaver's Wall is going to lock them out of here. They're going to try and burst it here. 113 is here as well. He's come up clutching the steal before. He does it again! 113 with the ultimate answer! It's never a 50-50 with him. The ultimate from Kindred is going to be too little, too late. Rangjun goes down. Cabashard goes in. Cody's son, one more W will do it. It's actually the Elder prop that does it in the end. 113, take a bow.
A second steal and a secured game. Raxo's going to fall. His Nexus turrets are going to fall as well. And Karmine Corp, it took them 47 minutes. It took them 4 Barons and an Elder, but they win the game in the end. Send themselves to 4-1. The game finally comes to a close here, but Mirage, they did not go quietly into the night.
Definitely not. Some life signs shown there by Mirage. I think they can come away from this game. You know, you came up against one of the stronger teams in the league and you're able to kind of